Hello, Wild Wisdom Warriors, and welcome to another episode of Russian Tea Room. So today I have my guest, Roald Boom, and we had a show back in September of last year, Divine Justice, and in that show we talked a lot about quantum resting and quantum learning. So today I think we're going to continue and get a little bit more into deeper level of quantum field and this new age that's coming upon us, which is an Aquarian Age. So welcome. It's great to have you here again, Raul. Thank you for being here.
Yes, thank you, Lily. Thank you for having me on.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
So what do you want to start with? Should we start recapping a little bit what we talked about last time? We talked about divine justice, and we talk a lot about the quantum resting and what is quantum field, and how we right now stepping into a new age and going through the process of quickening. There is a lot of material out there, and there is a lot of teachers that came before us that talked about this period and talk about new age, right? And what this new age is all about. And this period that we call quickening, which is great because it starts with Q, and that's all about quantum field. And I know in my way, I called this period in my graph from 2016, from New Year for 2016, I put that in there in the graph, this period from 2012 to 2024, I think, as this period of correction or readjustment, or, entering into this new age, what is many people calling it a quantum age, because we are getting into the whole new level of understanding what this new age is all about, right?
Yeah, correct. Yeah, we can go into that. Basically, last time we talked a little bit about quantum resting, and this is then we're retouching on this again. The idea of this whole quantum field and this Aquarian new age that's coming in, of course, it has been watered down into the pseudo-spiritual realms a little bit. But if we try to at least put it in a nutshell, let's just say for a moment that this model that we have about the astrological type of system, we have a Pisces age, and we're now going into an Aquarian age. And the Pisces age has a certain energetic structure to it. Every age has a certain structure. Let's just say for a minute that we use models, because there's no absolute truth, if we wish, in this realm at all. But we can use models. So let's just say for a minute that that we're living in a kind of a holographic simulation, and that the mechanics of the simulation, the literal like nuts and bolts, the little wheels that turn, that make the holographic simulation, the complexities and the mechanics of that system can be explained in an astrological sense. So we could say that the holographic projection is a combination of certain stars and planets and energy fields and the qualities that those fields embody, and that is the light shining into a lens that we could call the Earth system, the holographic system. And so every planet and every age has a certain energy signature. And it seems that the energy signature that the Pisces age had was one of, you could say, occult, basically, hidden. It was lies, and manipulation could be hidden. And not only could it be hidden, those lies and those trickeries and the manipulation and the corruption could be hidden, and also the ones who perpetrated those criminal, let's say, activities were able to get away with it. It seems that the energy field of the Aquarian age is an age of truth, is an age where the lies can no longer be hidden. So it's a revealing, an unveiling, and that's why the water bearer of Aquarius pours the truth over everything, so it's exposed, right? And what you were talking about just now is that period, let's say from 2012 to 2024, is what they would call the crossover. Right? They're talking about this crossover overlap of, let's say, those years, 12 years, let's say. And then in that period, we get an adjustment period where the energetic signature of the old age and the energetic signature of the new age is coming in and allowing us to get used to letting go of the old age and stepping into that new age. And it's kind of still a period where there's a mix of both energy fields. Of course, each age becomes its strongest at the mid of the age, you could say. Like the strongest energy signature will be, and that they say something like 1,000 years. So we won't really be in the strength of the Aquarian age for another 500 something years, you know. But this lap crossover period is a period where you can enjoy both the forgiving nature of the Pisces age, the graceful forgivingness of the Pisces age, and at the same time, the truthful energy field of this new Aquarian age. And so what I was saying in the last video, which is also what you were referring to, is that there is quantum learning is possible in this overlap, because you're being forgiven for not knowing or living with the lies and the illusions, because it's still the Pisces age, so it forgives you for not having done the work. But at the same time, you can realize the truth very quickly. And so in one of the videos that I made a few days ago, I think last week somewhere, I was referring to that. And that's what we've been talking about a little bit before we started the show, is that for those people who have not done the linear waking up process, there is this possibility to use the quantum leaping or the quantum jumping, because you could compare it to different kinds of computers even, and we'll go into that maybe a little bit later about the different levels of the conscious, subconscious, and the unconscious. But a normal computer that anybody has, like we are using probably now, can be a good computer, but it cannot really do the processing that a supercomputer does, or a quantum computer does. So the idea is that if for the people who haven't made the changes that are needed to be able to integrate their lives with the Aquarian age, which takes time. I mean, most of us have done a lot of learning and waking up to all the illusions and lies that have been out there for maybe decades, or at least, you know, a good 10, 20, or 10 or 15 years, depending on how long people have woken up ago, step by step, day by day, in a linear fashion. And what I spoke about in the quantum resting and now in the quantum learning aspect of it is that a lot of people have the chance to make a big jump. And that's an opportunity we shouldn't miss.
Right. And that's what I think this period of quickening is all about, is that the energies are available now and expanding. And right now we have so much more understanding what quantum field really is. We have a lot more conscious awareness of what it is. And I think I love what you said, and you called the Aquarian age a truth age. And I've been calling this period, this quickening period, also a revealing time, because everything has to come to the surface, because you're absolutely right that the old age, the Pisces age, it was all about occult and hidden. Everything stayed hidden. But it's not that this right now in this period, it's not that, you know, that the quantum field didn't exist in the past. It's just that it's expanding and everything is changing. And we're moving into this quantum age, which is the truth age, because It was great. Your last video was so great about the quantum leaping, for the possibility for the quantum leaping that we have right now. And what I talked about, that it allows us to go through this transmutation and even transfiguration. And as we gonna talk a little bit later about how this quantum leap allows us to align everything, the whole of our being, to the truth, to the core, to the pillar of us, which will give us the transformation, transfiguration, which is restructures everything, including your physical body, right? And so all of that is affected, because when you are quantumly leaping, what you're doing is you're restructuring your whole quantum field, right?
And at a very fast pace, because that's the
And it
beauty of it.
happens like that, right? And it happens quick.
Yeah. So yeah, exactly. And that's the opportunity that seems to be available in this quickening period, or this overlapping period, where even the ones, and that's the beautiful thing about the Pisces, or the Pisces age. Although the Pisces age is the age of illusion, it's the age where trickery and lies could be hidden. It's also the age of grace, where the forgivingness of that age would allow those. It's almost like karma wasn't called out. You were forgiven for doing the atrocities and the lies and the manipulation. The age doesn't only allow it to be hidden, but it allows it to be forgiven as well. So, the statement they have about forgive them for they know not what they do is really a Pisces statement from a Pisces age. So that at this last minute also gives this almost last gift of the Pisces age. It is given to the people who haven't done the work. So for all the people who for the last years were reluctant to wake up to all the lies that were right in front of our face, because it's not like it's not obvious. The money system, the schooling system, the medical system, the pharmaceutical system, the vaccines, and the corruption from the government agencies, the murderous wars that are going on, for ages. So it's not like it's hidden that these things are totally twisted. But the majority of people would be allowed to get away with it and make excuses for it. And in the last segment of that Pisces age, it seems that an extra grace, it's almost like a Joker card. This last card that is given, a get out of jail free card. You know how they have that with Monopoly or something? They have a get out of jail free card. Well, it's almost like in this segment until 2024, you have this last grace card that the Pisces age gives and says, look, if you haven't done the work, if you haven't done all the step-by-step linear learning of waking up, then you could make quantum leaps, quantum jumps. And it's like that 100 monkey syndrome that we spoke about, They say that when you teach a monkey, 100 monkeys something to work with a tool, and you teach them, let's say in Russia, in a laboratory, and you put these monkeys together, and you teach them how to use that tool. Then when about 100 monkeys have learned to use the tool, the same monkeys all over the planet who haven't been taught anything to use the tool will suddenly know how to use that tool. This is like a bridge that's been built by the ones who've done the work before.
Right, because it has to do with the quantum field, and then that goes into
the field itself,
into the field itself, and so that is then there,
accessible for the rest,
because we are connected on all levels.
Yeah, so you build bridges for the people who can then cross them without ever having been there to build. If we would build a bridge between a valley, let's say you have a valley, and there's one side and the other side, and you have to build a bridge across. It might take a year to build that bridge. But once the bridge is built, anybody that wants to cross the bridge can maybe do that in minutes. In minutes. Although the people who had to build the bridge, that took them maybe a year and a half to build the bridge. And that's the beauty of this quantum leaping. The ones who did the work built the bridge for the ones to follow quickly.
Right. And this is what I think we're talking about is, and this is why we having these conversations, because, and recording them and putting them out there for every one of you guys that are listening to this, is that this is an amazing time for humanity to make this quantum leap. I think at this point and in this information age, we had seen so much of that linear learning. It had expanded in all different ways. There is so much information out there.
Yeah, internet.
That, you know, there is so many videos, even on YouTube. You talk about a subject, pick any subject, and there's going to be, you know, a whole bunch of stuff and videos that's going to be on it. So the information is available. The key here is that it's not about gaining more information. This is about doing and inverting that, almost like it's embodying that, but not from the perspective of projected information, a holographic, but being that,
living
being that creator being, as I like to say it, right? Exactly. Being that creator being and taking responsibility. And this is what you so beautifully talk about, that Pisces age. I don't know how to say that right. But the old age, let's just say, the grace and the forgiveness. And you can only experience, it's almost like it amplifies now in this quickening period, in this overlap. It amplifies even to a greater extent because the change is huge. This is a leap in consciousness.
Yeah, the change of energy.
Consciousness is expanding. This is the evolution. We're going to take this leap as humanity. And this is the thing. And those that refuse to take this leap, they are, as the way I see it, they're going to go into self-destruct, because there's only so much projected information that you can take on, you know, before all your fuses are going to blow up. You're going to explode with information. There's so many people already exploding with information, but they don't understand that we have to step in. We have to reach in. We got to get in.
Yeah, we have to be the embodiment.
To be able to leap into that, and the forgiveness, like you were talking about it. It's amplified as well, because by quantum leaping, you actually see and you recognize and you experience that forgiveness, because you step into your own power as creator being, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And the thing is that and of course we have to see how it folds, how it all plays out in the next few years. But it seems to be the case that grace opening, it will be shutting down, because once the Aquarian age comes in, then the forgiveness will be gone. It is almost like there is no compassion in the Aquarian age. It's just truth. Things are shown to be what they are. And they say what, for example, is, as you sow, so shall you reap. You know, real karma. What you give your time to, what you spend your life doing will come back onto you. Right? So what you sow, so shall you reap. The seeds that you plant in the age of Aquarian will come back to you, because those are the fruits you have to eat. And if somebody is in ignorance and in lies and in manipulation and in self-greed and all these self-projected things of self-aggrandizement and me, and me, you know, when people are still in that, that will come back on them. Whereas in the period of the Pisces, there is this grace period where you're allowed for forgiveness for the mistakes that you've made. I don't think maybe in Aquarian age that's there at all. It will be, that's the fact, like a cold sword, like a samurai that just does what it needs to do. It's like the cold
because
sword.
That's what truth is, right? And this is Aquarian age, is the age of truth. And that's what truth is. It's a sword.
Yeah, it doesn't say, oh yeah, I'll forgive you for having played around and messed up. You know, no, you mess up, you sit on your own pain. You know, And so, you were talking about doing the hypnosis that you're doing with the music, right? With the sound and the music. What is the actual word you use for
It's solfeggio quantum hypnosis, well-point method, quantum hypnosis.
Yeah, so and it uses a lot with music and sound to get you
Yes,
into a hypnotic
sound
state.
and frequency that are actually doing the work of aligning your mind. And so the music is embedded with all these frequencies. And so then when the client listens to that, it's all, and then what it is actually, we're going into the unconscious, into the quantum field within.
Exactly. Yeah.
And that's where you step in, and then so it's not like me doing through the thing. It's just bringing forth your own creator self, aligned with your or some people call it a higher self. So your higher self steps in, and you're actually doing your own work. You're doing your own recollaboration of your own quantum field.
So
It's
is there
very
any
empowering. It's very empowering to people that step into that, because it literally transforms your whole being, the way of you think of yourself, and you take responsibility for your own self. It's just beautiful.
Lily, is that when the people are in that field, when they're in that stage, do they actually converse with their, let's say, there's a higher self, or is it in silence, and is there some conversation going on?
Well, the higher self take them through a visual, and they talk about what they're seeing and things like that, because then whatever the questions or the issues that they're working through that they bring to me, then the higher self shows them things and all of that stuff. And then their own higher selves, then we call forth the higher self to speak through them and work through the issues or questions or whatever it is that each individual comes for a session for. And so what's beautiful about it, that sometimes people don't know, let's say they have some kind of issue that is physical, let's say, right? But then the beauty of this is that they go in all the way in. It's not like putting a bandage on the stomach ache, like most of the healings out there. We go in, and then you never know what's going to pop out to be restructured from within out. And that's how it works, from within out, which is like we talked about with Michael in my previous show. And we talk about, that ability to restructure your own, and you have to, and what it is, that real 5D, what is it? Is the Hermetic principle, as within, so without. And that's what fifth dimension is. And so many people out there thinking that they're going to go somewhere else, but it's actually going into your own quantum field.
Yeah, it's that next level.
That and creating your reality, which is 5D reality, which is
from within.
Without. Yes.
Yeah. So if I hear you right, then basically the hypnotic method that you use goes somewhere in between what I would call, because you have the three minds, you could say the unconscious, the conscious mind. This is basically a very superficial level, what most people call themselves. This is the chatting monkey mind. Then you have the subconscious mind, which is basically the structure that dictates most of your behavioral patterns. And these have usually been laid down by your conditioning, your social conditioning, your familiar conditioning, religious conditioning, schooling, all the conditioning of the structures that lay things down. And then we have what we call the unconscious mind. Most hypnotic teachings and don't even speak about the unconscious. They usually mix those two words. They don't usually speak about the three. They talk about the conscious and the subconscious, but some of them call it the unconscious. But I make a distinction between three: the conscious, superficial mind, the subconscious, where most of the programming lies, and then the unconscious mind, which is the quantum field. And And
Right.
this can be
In my
compared
method, we call that super conscious,
superconscious. Yeah, okay. I call it the unconscious. Yeah,
or
yeah, yeah,
unconscious is still gonna work, but
yeah.
that's
It's the quantum field. That's the quantum
that's
field.
the quantum
So,
field.
so from what I can see is you're basically dealing on the borderline between the subconscious and what you call the superconscious. So you're going in the subconscious and the super. What do you call it? Superconscious or supraconscious?
Super conscious.
Yeah, the superconscious. So I would call that the unconscious. But what we're talking about is that let's call the conscious mind a very, very simple computer. It's one of those ones from the 1990s, the first ones we had. They can basically need half an hour to start up just to get going, you know? Then you have the subconscious. That's a supercomputer. That's where most of your behavioral, even my body's sitting up straight, breathing, my cells are regenerating, my digestion is going on, my hairs are growing, my skin is regenerating, all these things are going on out of the subconscious. It's a supercomputer. And that's why it's so important in hypnosis to go into the subconscious and reset the software, the programming that has been set and that might be blocking or boycotting or sabotaging your own life and your higher purposes, if you wish, right? And that's what hypnosis is usually about. You're talking about a level of hypnosis that also touches into the field even deeper, the quantum field. And then you kind of are in between the crossover between the subconscious and the supraconscious. And then you're tapping into what I call the quantum field, what we're talking about. And that's why I call real meditation quantum resting, because then you're going into the field of the quantum level where everything is already perfect. This is the original untouched space of perfection. And when you can rest in when anybody can rest in the quantum field, there is a perfect realignment that occurs. The longer you stay there, the more realignment occurs by itself. It's almost like a magnetic field that if you drop little pebbles of metal, they all go in a certain direction. You know, they shape in the positive and negative field. The quantum field, without any effort, without any doing or any method or anything that you have to actively participate in with the conscious mind or even the subconscious mind, the quantum field realigns every aspect of the life, including the body, the mind, the spirit, the soul, whatever you want to call all these different levels. And that's the beauty of making quantum leaps by resting in the quantum field.
Beautifully said, Roald. Yes, and that's the key here. That's why I enjoy this kind of hypnosis, because I had done and experienced a typical hypnosis sessions and things like that. But here, what I do is that what you said. It's going and operating from that point of that quantum field, which is, you call it quantum resting, that type of meditation to where everything is perfect, all possibilities and all, it's all there. There is no lack of anything. And then you just bridge that into your subconscious, and then you bridge that into your conscious mind, and then you bridge that into your physical reality. And so everything then is aligned into that. You are the pillar. You are the pillar.
And that's the beauty of the shortcut. It's almost like a shortcut.
Yes.
You know, it's, if you would, you know how we read? If you read a book, you have to take letters from the alphabet, and you make words, and we make sentences, and then we make paragraphs, and then we make, you know, whole chapters and books. It's a very slow method of processing. I mean, literally, if I have to go and explain the room that I'm sitting in right now, it would take hours to describe it, because you have to go into the molecular structure still if you really want to go into detail and all these things, right? But the quantum way of learning is almost like what some people speak about, like a drop file. It's like you basically do a zip file. It contains a bomb of information or knowledge, and it unzips in one instance. This is what we call insight or realization, right? It doesn't need this linear, slow computational method of the conscious mind. It's like a zip file, it unpops, poof, the quantum field releases that from the quantum field, and immediately you grasp an entire principle. And it's almost like you jump an entire learning school of linear learning in the conscious mind, and suddenly, boom, it's there. And the thing is that what we're doing in this society, what in many ways we're doing wrong in this society, is we have made, or at least science for the larger part, has made the conscious mind the only reality. And the only way to learn is information and going to school and doing years and years of reading books and more books and more books. But in fact, what we've missed out on all this time in the Pisces age as well, in the Pisces age, is that there is this supercomputer and this quantum computer. And the conscious mind and science has basically declared, of course, the mainstream science, because the quantum mechanics and the quantum physicists, all these that are studying that are out of the box, they are talking about what we're talking about now. And therefore, what we're talking about at the core essence is the ultimate way of learning, the ultimate way of evolving, the ultimate way of advancing, of getting rid of the false and moving quickly into what is true, is what we would call quantum resting, or what most people would refer to erroneously at many levels, or at least the words have gone wrong, is meditation. Because true meditation is dropping the conscious mind, bypassing the subconscious mind, and resting in the quantum field, which is the unconscious, or what you call the superconscious mind. And in the superconscious mind, the method of processing is so fast, is so instantaneous that it's beyond the speed of light. And that's when you make leaps. Leaps are made through the practice of resting in the quantum field. Now, we are speaking about it right now on an intellectual level, we could say. We're using words and we're speaking about it. But the actual applying, by applying quantum resting, by doing it, and even that's wrong because you're not really doing anything. The
Right.
real quantum resting is doing nothing and allowing the field to be as it already is. And what we need now in the world more than ever, and especially in this overlapping period from the two ages, is for people to actually, beyond just intellectual talking, to actually become the embodiment of people who practice or are actually engaged in or embodying this level of knowing how to rest in this quantum field. More than ever, what we need is no more YouTube videos and no more talk and no more spiritual, pseudo-spiritual, blah, blah, and alien stuff, and all that stuff is a lot of entertainment. And it might be true at some level. I'm not disputing whether these things have a value. They have a value. But at the conscious level, we're talking about very slow computational functioning. At the subconscious level, we're still talking about a supercomputer, but it's still not anywhere near a quantum computer.
Right.
And at the deep unconscious level, we're talking about such fast processing that it's instantaneous. And at this time, we need instantaneous transformation, no longer long, tedious processing.
Right. And we talked a lot about in the past that this reality is holographic reality. And a lot of people are talking about super quantum computers that are out there and all of that stuff. But I always say, we are the biological computers. We are quantum computers because of this quantum field. This is what holds our being together.
Yeah, this makes the entire simulation, yeah.
It makes it all, and this is why I call us creator beings. You know, recently I give somebody an example. They say, well, how does it, you know, how is it to get to the quantum field within and know the true self and higher self and all of that, and align yourself with that and experience that, being that experience the quantum learning or experience the quantum leap, how it is. And just like you said, and I always say, this needs to be experienced by each individual because of what you just explained. The conscious mind can only process so much before it's going to blow its fuses and it's going to burn up. It can't hold that much information but the quantum learning, it's instantaneous. But I give this example. I said, if you want to learn how to swim, right? You can sit around the table with your friends, with your family members, and you can listen to the videos on YouTube, what you need to do, you need to move your legs, how you need to move your arms, and all of that stuff. You can listen about it and listen about it. But at some point, you're going to have to jump into the water and do it.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
You can listen to one video or you can listen to 100 videos. At some point, you have to jump in.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, why I keep making these videos, is I want for people out there to experience this. We are in this period right now. We are, like you said in your last video, we are peaking. And that's absolutely true. There was, when this quickening period started, when this transition from age to age started, where the energies are really intense on both sides and they're kind of going one within another. It's almost like, when Jesus talked about, you are in this world, but you're not of it. This is what this two ages and both energies are one within another. But the beauty of it is that all that learning we did, we can look at it, and when you quantum leap, it's not that you wasted your time, it's you have a whole different perspective on what you learn. You're completely renewed in who you are and how you operate and how you move forward. This is why it's a new age, because you are renewed. Your quantum field restructures.
Yeah. Exactly. And a lot of people, when we make these videos, they ask, because what we're doing, like I said before, is we're basically speaking still about these subjects, but the doing of the quantum resting, or the not doing it, but resting as the quantum field, is what we're pointing at. But that we cannot do in the video unless we go into a meditational, guided meditation, right? And so a lot of people on my videos ask me sometimes, okay, but what do you mean with quantum resting? So how do I quantum rest, right? And really, it is what there's so many forms of meditation now that we have visualization, meditations, and name it. But the true meaning of meditation or quantum resting is really just remaining without the voice speaking. So without the emotional bodies, without the future beliefs, without the storytelling. Really, the true point of meditation or quantum resting is to remain as nothing, which means to remain only without the conscious mind, monkey mind chattering, without the storytelling about where we're going, what you're doing with your life, how much money you still got in the bank, and all the stories that people tell themselves. Because the blockage that we're talking about that's stopping us from really remaining in the quantum field is kind of like the trap. It's kind of like the prison system, whether that's from the archons or from some interdimensional race that has been blocking us from and keeping us prison inside of this construct. We can talk about all kinds of philosophies about that. But the point really is that once the attention of a human being is centered on the moment, without conversational chit-chat in the mind and emotional turmoil in the body, and it's left to be completely still and silent, at that moment, the quantum field becomes the foreground. So where usually the conscious, superficial, slow computer is taking the foreground with the emotional concepts and the life constructs and all the religious beliefs and all the problems of financial stuff and work, when you leave all that behind, then the quantum field takes the foreground, and the quantum field, being by its own nature perfect, starts to realign everything. And what I give as an example to the people that ask me the question is, the fruits, you measure the activity by its fruits. So you have to see the result of quantum resting. But you don't do that intellectually, you do it by doing the quantum resting. And what you will notice is this, and this is the interesting thing, Lily, and you will know about this because everybody who has done the quantum resting knows. if you sit down and what people call meditate, and you rest, and you stop the chatting monkey mind and all the storytelling and all the thousands of YouTube videos that we've seen on all the subjects from the Pisces and Aquarius and the New World Order and all the things that are going on, and you rest in this state of quantum resting, this quiet state of nothingness. It's basically being empty. Empty of the chit chat, empty of the emotions, empty of all the low level processing, right? It seems like it has no purpose to the human mind. But if you rest in there, then you will notice in a few minutes or a few days that suddenly these zip files, these amazing insights, these realizations are suddenly available. It might be the day after, it might be 2 days after, but you will start to notice that the release of quantum zip files, this super fast learning drop boxes where these zip files are dropped in, and suddenly you're walking around maybe a day later after quantum resting, and something that you have always seen for years in the same way, now suddenly, boom, an insight is dropped like a bomb. And suddenly you've made a leap in perception. You no longer see what you saw in the old constructs, and you see it in a deeper sense. And that's the fruit. The fruit of quantum resting is these quantum leaps, because you get these zip files delivered from the quantum field, and you make a great jump in knowledge, in realization. That is the purpose, you know?
Right. And this is what you, I think, calling a quantum learning, right? Is that zip files then open up, but also they will open up sort of in that whole, in you leaping in perception
And in truth.
and it's all, and it's like your Aquarian age is taking over, and the truth surrounds you, the truth of you in that who you truly are, as we talk about that
is revealed. Yeah.
But again, at the same time, like I say, the quantum field restructures, and it's not like you all of a sudden know everything and all the answers to every question there is, because all of that is different. This is a whole different experience. There is just, we're, like you're saying, we're trying to put this into words, which is very difficult to put into words because it needs to be experienced.
Exactly.
And this is why this awakening, and even 2 years ago when I started doing the Wild Wisdom Warriors series, I talk about the difference between the true awakening and then the illusionary awakening. Because as you were talking about, and I so agree with you, that this quickening period, as I estimated, it was about 12 years. Some people say it's 40, some people say it's 60. We can go back as far, and on some levels, it started 100 years ago, the transition started, you know. So, but, you know, in our everyday life, for everyday sort of individual, this years from 2012 to 2024 are really intense, because we're peaking, and
it's not easy either.
Time needs to be well used by us, because both energies are, and you can let it go of all the stuff and do the leaps and restructure your quantum field, because once we pass that, we're going to be on more truth. You're not going to be able to hide anything, or to, you know, to be forgiven for your ignorance, right?
Exactly.
Because the age of ignorance is going poof. It's going down the toilet. That's it. It's just, it's gone.
And it's not easy either.
It's not
easy either, because, you know, a lot of the New Age movement would like to make it believe that it's going to be all glory and sunshine. But what I'm experiencing from my own experience, and we were talking about that before in your case as well, that it's not like, you know how oil and water don't mix? In the Pisces age, in the old age, water and oil were allowed to be mixed, right? But what it's almost like this separation, it's pulling things apart, it's ripping things apart. It's not a smooth, loving, letting go all the time. Often the dying off of the old illusionary lies, the ignorance, is a ripping out, and it comes with some wounds as well, and some pain and some stress. So it's not necessarily only sunshine and glory, it comes with the
No, it's
necessary
not.
stress. Yeah.
The real awakening, the illusionary awakening, as those fairy tale stories, that people tell about, all this, it's not like that. It is literally ripping, because what is happening when you start quantum leaping and the zip files, as you say, are opening up, what happens is what rips away, and what seems to be ripping away or rips apart is the identity. Because you identified with that illusion or that belief system or that. And those identities are ripping apart for you when you truly starting to embody your true being.
Yeah.
And this is the spiritual growth that we are here, human beings, we are here to embody and go through right now. And especially we are here alive during this time. I consider this time and living through the period of quickening the most grandiose lifetime I have ever had. And I think I had quite a few lifetimes on this planet. So
Yeah.
this is the most grandiose time to be alive, because it's happening so quickly, and it's so amazing to live through this.
But not necessarily easy, but not necessarily
It's
always
not
easy.
easy.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
difficult. It's
Yeah.
difficult because we're like, it's only in illusionary awakening to where people can become gurus and think they're almighty, holy, and all of that stuff. That's fake. That's fake. It's
Yeah,
all of it is fake.
yeah, and a lot of things, a lot of things. I mean, I've learned a lot from some non-dual teachers and Advaita teachers and spiritual teachers. I've learned a lot from them. And what I noticed, that because I don't want to diss them in any level, or because they have their function as well. But one thing you'll notice is what you're saying. One thing you notice is that these teachers often have a specific way of teaching because it worked for them. Something happened in their life and they were freed from their ego structures that were torturing them. And for some reason, they got what you would call enlightened or liberated. And then they started teaching. And one thing you'll notice with all of those teachers, that 99% of the people that listen to them cannot free themselves from the ego structures that are imprisoning them. Although the teacher is repeating and repeating, and for years they stay with these teachers. And it's not that the teacher failed, but it's almost as though there is no real method other than the quantum resting of doing the work. There is no free ticket out because the master that you sit with has done it and he's telling you over and over the same thing. Because I notice with all these different teachers, they all have their specific qualities, but they're also missing many parts. Some don't know anything about food. They don't care about food at all. Some don't know anything about love and love making, the difference between sex and love, the tantric aspect. Some of them know nothing about aliens or about interdimensional possession or prison planet structures. They're all missing because nobody has all the pieces together. None of us, not even we. But the age that we're talking about is the age where each individual has to do the work, has to do the realignment. And the beautiful new age stories that there's going to be some savior or some guru or some alien race or something, Jesus will come back or whatever, it's just not simply the case. The case is that this ripping apart is a process that has its pain, has its difficulty. And that's why they say also the greatest good takes the greatest effort. because you cannot go into heaven with a Coney Island ticket for $2 ticket without doing the work. You have to actually put in the work as well.
Right. And I think when we talked about a year ago about divine justice or, or judgment, well, it depends how you look at it. This ripping apart is in a way a judgment, because everything is just falling apart. There's so many people out there that, I watch and I listen on YouTube and all of that stuff, but I also see that some of them are falling apart. Yeah. They're falling apart and their fuses are all blowing because they believe that this new age is going to come in all this, glory and all of that stuff. But the illusion is what it is. It's an illusion. Yeah. But when you really go in and do the work, then it becomes, like we talk about, it is then divine justice, because then truth prevails.
Yeah, exactly. And then one of the side effects, which is not that great either, but is a fact, is that when you wake up and you've dismantled many of the illusions ongoing, every time dropping more and more, and every time you think you figured much out, it comes and collapses again, and more illusions are shown to be illusions. And then you're left more and more alone, because the majority of the people on the planet are not making that move, which is not easy either. Living in the world, we spoke about that before. You stand alone.
It's not. And like I said, in 2014, I give the estimation and numbers, and I say, here how it is. 3% are going to be capable of embodying this, this transformation and transmutation. Yeah. And then we see that in today's world, it's almost like the illusion is so desperate right now. It's like the illusion is shaken up.
It's trying to hold on.
Desperation is trying to hang on. And it's just, and this is the thing, and again, in which we touch on it, and with that, what's happening right now, what's different, it's not that a lot more people fell for the illusion. No, the illusion was always there. Is what we are going through is this amazing period of this quickening, to where we all of this is falling apart, and all the illusions are falling apart. So then the truth can stand like a sword, that it can stand. And so it's just, they're more visible. So some of people, no matter how much they try to hang on to illusion, what happens is it doesn't stick. The illusion doesn't stick.
It doesn't work anymore.
Yeah. So much of this Aquarian Age energy already present, that the illusions and the lies don't stick. But we know how the lies work. The more you repeat the lie, the people will believe it. But that's old structure. That worked in Soviet Union long ago, 100 years ago. It's not going to work in the new age. So you can see the people that talk about stuff and spiritual work out there, when they're repeating same thing, like you were saying, some of these people, it might have worked for them at some point, and it did something to them, and it made them to turn and do something. But that doesn't mean that it's going to work for everybody. And this is why I am still doing these videos and still sharing, because you're absolutely right. The way we teach is by just sharing experiences. We embody that and then trying to share this with others. And I know it, and you know it, that there's not a lot of people that are willing today still, even though we're going through this process of quickening, they're not willing to do the work, because it does require the work.
It requires
it is up to you to get yourself into that stillness or the quantum resting, as you call it, right? Yeah. It's easier for somebody to turn on somebody on YouTube that talks about aliens that they talk about for last 10 years.
Yeah.
You know, same thing, repeating over and over again, same thing. But just in that, you know that the truth doesn't require to be repeated over and over and over again. It's only lies that require that. And so even in this age, even though we're still in the transition, we can get a little peek in how it's going to move forward into Aquarian age. None of these lies will be sticking. The further we go, so the more slower you get, and you're not willing to leap, you're gonna be like you said in your last video. The last will be first, and the first will be lost. And that's just, again, I don't like to quote the Bible, but there's a lot of things in that book that actually apply when you really know what is being talked about there.
Yeah.
That it's not some kind of programmed, thing that many people are using to keep their illusion going. So yes, it's the illusions will rip apart.
Yeah.
The false identities will rip apart. They'll just it will all fall apart. It's almost like the glue that was holding the old age together is no longer working. And so it doesn't keep things together. It doesn't, there is like no thread anymore to keep those different illusions sewn together for you. And like we talk about, there's a lot of people wanted to ascend into 5D. This is how you do it, quantum resting.
Yeah.
Because as within, so without, that's your 5D reality.
Exactly. Exactly. And one of the things that you were talking about in a video with Michael, was it Michael Heller, right?
Michael Harold, yes.
Yeah, Harold, yeah. And one of the things you were talking about there is what you said earlier in this talk that we're having is the 5D, you know, moving into a higher level, a higher dimension, right? And we know that we were talking about like 1D is length, so it's forwards and backwards. Then you have 2D is left and right, right? So it's width. And then you have up and down, which is the third dimension. And then you have the fourth dimension, which is time. And then we have a fifth dimension, and this is also a directional level. And it's the level of within and without. This as within, so without. So in this new Aquarian age, the truth is revealed that, you know, that this reality, this 5-dimensional level, if you want to live in harmony in the 5th dimension, then you need to understand that when you walk forward, like if I walk forward now, I will bump into the camera, right? If I don't understand that it works like that, then I will bump into the wall, into a car, into whatever. If I go up, I jump up and I hit my head, it's because I don't understand that dimension. Or if I go left or right, I have to understand these dimensions, right? And the time dimension as well. And then the 5th dimension is the understanding that whatever is inside dictates the manifestation on the outside. So 5th dimensional truth means that, yes, we know about the first dimension, walking forward and backwards, and if you don't look backwards, you fall off a cliff. Or you walk forwards, you walk into a wall, you bump your head, it's bleeding, right? But now we have to understand the 5th dimensional reality. And the level about that, and that's what you were talking about with this gentleman the other day, is that if you hold pain, if you hold a subconscious level of programming, which most in this world is at this moment from the Pisces age is lies. If we hold lies about the psychology of ourselves, the inner world, the outer world, the universe, the medical world, the indoctrination schooling world, if we have false information inside, we have a false reality outside. If we have damaged pain inside, the traumas, then we will have a traumatic outer world as well. So the truth about the Aquarian age is also that we have to understand the 5th dimension, that whatever we see at a personal and at a more social level is a manifestation of the inner world first. first. So to heal the outer world, we can only first start by healing the inner world. And the first inner world we need to heal is our own inner world. And that is, again, the quantum learning, the quantum leaping, the quantum healing, because we could talk about quantum healing at that level as well. We have quantum resting, which leads to quantum learning, but it also leads to quantum healing. And that means fast healing. Once we heal the inner world, then it will manifest on the outside, the healing as well. Otherwise, we just talk about it.
Right. And we said that we even will touch on, which is very important, touch on the body. It's because once you move forward through this, right, and then it is also a transmutation, meaning it is in the physical world. Your body will transform and transmute and all of that stuff when you truly really doing the work. Everything. And this is where comes that healing that is really is you who has to heal. Without this, like you said, without quantum resting first, without quantum learning, without having that
Access,
that you can heal your body. You can't. You know, that's why people don't heal through external. This is why we have such a I mean the health society that I mean people are so sick. Everyone is sick, you know, because we're eating horrible foods. We're taking all this stuff in. It's because we don't do what's required to do the self-healing.
Yeah, I was looking at this word the other day, of corrupt, because I'm dealing here also with my normal work in the day life. I'm dealing with a lot of corruption because the world, of course, is from the old world. And the word corrupt comes from co, the co, which is with, and rupt is a rupture, right? A fissure, a rip, a tie, So corrupt means to be with those who are ruptured from the source. You see, if you're with those who are ruptured, you're with those who have left the quantum field. So the rupture is the break from having been only living in the conscious mind and not in the unconscious or the superconscious, as you call it, or the quantum field. So whoever is corrupt is ripped apart from the source, ripped apart from the quantum field. And so they are no longer with their true nature, with the true soul.
Right. Because, and again, you mentioned this in Divine Justice conversation that we had, that this is also the field of harmony.
Exactly, yeah.
And so when what is it when we're sick, when things are not, it's because we're not in harmony. And to be in that field of harmony, said you have to start with quantum resting.
Yeah, the source field. I think you used to call it the source field.
I used to call it a source field, but now we have this with the quantum field and the quantum mechanics. It's given us so much more of sort of of a conscious
model.
Yeah, it gives us a better model, and a lot of people can understand that because it's become a more of a modern language now. So but that's the key here. What we're talking about, Roald, is so beautiful. It's the key here because this is where the healing can only be self-healing, right? And so this is the key. Without doing the work, without you stepping into this path, and I know I sound sometimes like a broken record, just keep repeating same stuff over and over again, but it's so important that we all start doing the work.
Yeah, and that's why, in a way, also, the word intelligent. Speaking about these etymological words, right? The source of the words, the meaning, and the intel and legent is the two words. Intelligent, the intel is the information or the knowledge, and the legent comes from the word ligament. You know how your bones are connected through ligaments. It is the connecting piece. So if you are intelligent, you're capable of connecting different sources of information or knowledge. It's the connection between everything. So the body, the mind, the politics, the holographic universe, all of these different levels of knowledge have to be connected to have a bigger understanding of it all, so that we can bring back the entire picture. So since we have, in this last age, our society left out this quantum field. In school, we don't learn about quantum resting. There's almost no schools that do meditation. So they learn about all these other things, but they have left the ligaments, the connection out. So really, most of the society we know now is not intelligent. Maybe they're smart, but they're not intelligent. Intelligent is the capacity to connect the information and knowledge with all the other parts. And one of the most crucial part that has been left out in the last age that causes this corruption, this fissure, this break, is the inability to understand that there is a quantum field that we can rest in that will then do the harmonizing for us. Instead of trying to do what I think Einstein or somebody said, although Einstein probably didn't even say it, but we don't really know what Einstein exactly said, if he's even Einstein. But I think that he used to say, you cannot solve a problem from the same level of consciousness that created the problem. And the problems that we have in our world right now were created from a computer level that is the conscious mind, and all the screwed up programming in the subconscious mind. What we need is that to solve the problems from the level that is no longer from where it was created, and that is the quantum field. We can solve every problem from the quantum field and harmonize our individual systems, and then, as within, so without, the manifestation of the inner world becomes the reality on the outer world, because we are that creator being that you speak about. We are the actual brain AI computing power of the holographic system itself. We are the manifestors of it. Yeah.
Right. And so when people are and this is what the other thing you mentioned in that show, in Divine Justice, is that fearlessness is something that you don't have fear. There is no fear present in the quantum resting. There isn't any. So it's fearless. This field is fearless. There is no fear there. And so this is why it's a whole different level of consciousness. And this is why, like you said, there's a lot of people there that are afraid of quantum computers taking us over and all of that stuff. It will take you over if you put yourself out there. But here we talk about the solution to that problem, but not from the point that it was created, because that quantum computer was created by human beings.
Mm-hmm.
We are more powerful than that. We created it. So that means we can overpower it. Our quantum field is what we are, an amazing being. We are God's source. And I mean, it says in the Bible, the God is within. So that's, I mean, they can challenge us on that. This is what it is. This is what it is. So we can solve that problem. There is no problems that cannot be solved by you operating from this field.
Exactly.
There is no problems that
because in the original source field, the quantum field, it is the pre-existent state. It is eternity. It is the uncreated, formless, ever-present, everything or nothing that contains the very essence of the universe before it was created. It is the perfection before anything ever was. So it's almost like a default mode. Whatever expression there is in existence, the quantum field is the default mode from which it was created. Almost like a child that would use the Lego. You can build any world with your Lego, and then you break it down and put it back in the bag. The quantum field is the building blocks of the entire universe itself, but it is that field where nothing was done yet. So it is the pure potential. It's the state of pure potentiality. And that's why nothing can touch it. Nothing can damage it. There's no fear there. There's no imperfection there. There's no injustice there. There's no duality there. Duality is a state that is created from the quantum field, by the quantum field, as something that creates away from the quantum field. But once you return back into the quantum field, you're back at that source field of the building blocks of the very universe, untouched building blocks.
Right. And then you, by acknowledging that it is within you, then you know that you are building the reality.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's why I keep saying we are the creator beings. It's the path of awakening to that once you go through these realizations and you leap into that, then it's just that. The one thing that I always say, the fearlessness, it's so beautiful to be fearless.
Yes.
It's so amazing. It's the harmony of being. I just, when you call that field a field of harmony, that's what it is. It's like that harmony that everyone seeks, but they really don't know where it is. It's within.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the beauty about fearlessness. What you say is that when you experience the field, and you do come back out into the world and have to deal with practical things about the body, but in the field of presence of that quantum field, knowing that is truly who you are at the base, before the body, before the mind, before all of manifestation, then you know that yes, the body will die. All bodies die, all things go, all moments pass, everything comes and goes in this dual existence out here. But what I truly am before all of that doesn't come or go. It's not even created. It's the quantum field itself. And that quantum field is untouched.
Right. And in a way, when you do quantum resting, it's the same as being like dying, because that's the field.
Yeah.
Field. You're then after death, that's who you are.
Yeah.
That. And so by being that in this life, that's again, it eliminates the fear of death, because then you, by experiencing quantum resting, by experiencing this, then there is no death.
No, because you are that.
Yes, because you're that. That's beautiful.
Yeah. Good.
That's beautiful, Raul. Yeah. Do you want to continue to talk a little bit more about that, or do you think we had a really good conversation?
We had a good session there. What we could try to do is do it more often and touch on different subjects and go into it from different angles. Maybe we should try to get some consistency in there, that we do every so many weeks or months or whatever. Maybe we do several.
I would love it. I would love to have you back on, because there is so much, as we were talking before show, there was so much we can talk about.
Yeah.
And all that stuff. We can come back, and I would love at some point to bring back my kids and have what we talk about, and have more of other people involved, get involved, younger kids, young. I mean, not talking about kids, but
younger individuals,
younger adults and things like that too, because they are going through this too. They're going through the quickening as well, and so all of humanity, young and old, in our age, middle age, we're all going through this process. So this applies to all of humanity. So, making it open and invite more, different age people and with this, because this is, I think, why we have this conversation, and we put this conversation out for you guys out there to watch and listen, so we can ignite that fire of that quantum fire within you, so you guys all can do this, because it doesn't require for you to be of certain age or this or that. It's just, it's there. It's who you are. It goes beyond death.
It's
It's
the very mechanics of the
you
universe.
before birth. Right.
Yeah.
So
I was just listening to somebody the other day that was speaking about, I think it was the Mayan or the Aztec calendars and things like that. I remember studying some of that many years ago. And it is literally an explanation like of the clockwork, the mechanics, the inner mechanics of the universe, and how the energetics of this system affect us at the emotional level, the physical level, and in this case, the level of this stage between these two different ages. It's the mechanistical, that's why it's quantum mechanics, because it's the mechanics of how the universe functions at that quantum level. And so that's how the system is directed. That's how the movie is being played. That's how the projectors are shining the light into this holographic simulation, creating the very ways of everything moving. And if we understand that better, we can harmonize instead of having more discord and chaos and pain and suffering. When we know how it works, we can work with it instead of against it.
right. And we're here, you know, going to be talking about this again. So then we can, as humanity, achieve this harmony, because it is there available to us. We have it within us, because as within, so without. This is the real 5D. This is the fifth dimension. And we're in it. And we need to step up and be the fifth dimensional beings that we are.
Yeah.
Because we definitely are. And this knowledge that we're sharing, or this conversation we're sharing with everybody, it is also, we can all benefit from
and build bridges, so we can build those
bridges and build that harmony on all levels. So then everyone can see how to, you know, to harmonize then your body, your spirit, you know, your emotional body. It's not, you know, with quantum leaping, it's like you were saying, the zip file opens up, but it is still you who's going to do all that, who's going to stop and restructure your things, and it is your body that's going to transmute and all of that energy that you were holding, and it's your body and it's your emotional body that has to let go of all the identities that you still hang on to, or the belief systems that you might still hang on to. You know, I talk about this for a long time, and I say, oh, I was born aware and all of that stuff, but I've done so much growing and so much changing
every day.
I still do. And you know, and as I was recently this summer when I was learning Welcome and hypnosis, you know, I still, you know, another thing opened up. I had belief systems that I didn't even know I had, but I had them. But now they're all, you know, in my view, and I am releasing that and letting go other stuff. So this work is not like, you know, you just do it and it's done. But it's like beautiful, like a tree growing, and you just keep growing and growing, and you're getting more and more lush with this energy that is you, truly you, your true self. And so this is why we're doing these videos. And Roald, it would be great to have you back again. So thank you so much for being with me today. This was a beautiful conversation. I really enjoy our show today. So thank you very much. And for all of you listeners out there, thank you for listening. We appreciate you listening and sharing these videos with your fellow human beings. So tune in next time. And until then, stay wild, everybody.
All right. Thank you, Lily. Thank you very much for having me on.
Thank you.
It was a pleasure, as always.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Bye, everybody.